Good afternoon to all of you. All good B schools in the world will teach you how to maximize your wealth. But I'm not very sure whether they give the right emphasis on teaching their students to maximize happiness. So I have chosen today this topic to share my ideas with you. Irrespective of whether we've gone to B schools or not, one thing is clear, that in our own personal lives, we seem to be somehow giving more importance to maximizing wealth rather than maximizing happiness. Does this really hold true in real life? For example, are richer people really happier? Or are we happier than our forefathers who lived about 100 years ago? We have so much technology to assist us. But can we really call ourselves happier than people who lived 100 years ago who didn't have any internet also with them? Well, I'm not trying to say that wealth is not necessary for happiness. But I'm sure most of you who are present here, a consensus has gradually emerged that after a minimum threshold of adequate wealth, beyond that, any incremental wealth does not bring about proportionate incremental happiness. I think this is a conclusion that we need to keep at the back of our minds. So I'm not downgrading this activity of increasing wealth. All of us do it, but it's not an end in itself. There's another thing very peculiar about wealth versus happiness. If you want to increase your wealth, it's a difficult task. I mean, imagine you need to have some financial and non-financial resources with you. You need to have a good business environment where you will create that wealth. You need to look after customers' perceptions about your product or service or whatever you're selling. In short, there are many external agencies on whom or on which you have to depend in order to increase your wealth. Go on the other side and see what about maximizing happiness. I think this is a one-window clearance system. In order to maximize happiness, you need to deal with only one entity, and that's yourself. So isn't it easier to deal with yourself than to deal with so many external agencies? So try and follow a path which is easier. And I hope to convince you after a few minutes that it indeed is the path which is easier and which should be followed by most of us. In the short time that's available with us, what I have done is I have identified and I'm going to share with you 12 successful strategies to maximize your happiness. But before we plunge on into what I have come to share with you, let me spend just half a minute in distinguishing happiness and pleasure. There are many people who confuse between the two. Let's say on a hot afternoon, if you drink a glass of cool lemonade, what is it that you're getting? Pleasure? Yes, we are getting pleasure. Suppose right now my toe was itching and I can't take out my shoe in front of so many people, but as soon as my talk gets over, I run to a corner, take out my shoe and scratch it. What am I getting? Pleasure. But imagine on that same hot afternoon, if I am sitting in a room and I get a news that my son has cracked the cat and has got admission into an IIM. What am I now getting? Happiness. So we must distinguish between happiness and pleasure before we plunge on to these 12 strategies that I am going to share with you. Happiness is mostly mental. Pleasure is completely physical. I don't think you require any talk. In fact, all human beings are genetically programmed to maximize pleasure. So I don't think you'll ever need a talk to maximize pleasure. But I'm going to share with you my 12 ideas about maximizing happiness. And please note, each of these ideas is a zero-cost idea. That itself should make you happy. This is the first. I have come across many people whom when I ask them saying, what makes you happy, are unable to write even a couple of sentences on a piece of paper. And if you don't know where to go, how would you ever reach there? I would suggest that when you go home today, take a piece of paper and write down 3 or 4 things that you think make you happy. And I'm sure each one of us will write different things on a piece of paper. So there is no universal definition of what will make someone happy. You need to have your own goals. So have specific, achievable, and challenging goals. Write them down. These goals can change. You can have some today, you can have some next month, you can have some for the year also. It's not as if once you decide these goals, these are the only ones you're going to follow. But just like you cannot reach a place unless you decide to reach that place, you cannot achieve happiness unless you are clear in your own mind as to what will give you happiness. So though it sounds quite commonsensical, I would suggest please decide what gives you happiness and then act on it. Let's go to number 2. I'm going to narrate a small experiment which was conducted at Harvard Business School. You know, all the students there are highly intelligent. So this professor asked them a question, saying that I'm giving you 2 situations. In situation number 1, you've got a salary of $100,000 per annum, and your friend has got a salary of $75,000 per annum. And in situation 2, you've got a salary of $150,000 per annum, but your friend has a salary of $175,000 per annum. And he asked them saying, which of these 2 situations would you choose? It was an experiment. Do you know, the first was overwhelmingly chosen by those intelligent students. The professor tried to explain to them saying, look, in the second situation, you are actually getting $150,000. $50,000 more than the situation 1. Why are you choosing the situation 1? And they said, I am choosing situation 1 because I feel happier because I am getting more than my colleague. And let me tell you, friends, this is one of the major causes of unhappiness in our lives. We tend to compete with others. If you want to be happy, compete with yourself. I'm not saying don't compete, but compete with yourself. I mean, I did this last year, I'm going to do 20% more this year. If you compete with yourself, there is no restriction. I mean, there's no limit to the happiness that you will get. Learn this habit and you'll surely realize how happy you can become. So this was that famous experiment in Harvard Business School that I wanted to share with you. Somehow most of us move around thinking that most of the others must agree with us. You know, one of the major causes of unhappiness in our lives is because people disagree with you. Like you might disagree with many things that I may say. Do you know something research now says that intelligent people rarely agree with each other because each one of them has his own point of view about whatever situation is being discussed. Though the reverse is not true. Those of you who are students of logic, if A implies B, it does not mean B implies A. So in this case, if intelligent people disagree with each other, don't presume that if you are disagreeing with someone, you are intelligent. The reverse is not true. But it's also true that intelligent people do not agree with each other. So there will be many occasions in life where people will not agree with you. So what's the best course of action? Try and persuade him once again. If he doesn't agree, try and still persuade him once more. And if he still doesn't agree to your point of view, just let it go. Agree to disagree. This is a good mantra for happiness. Let people have their own opinions just like they are letting you have your own opinions. Disagreement does not mean enmity. And this is what we normally do and increase our own unhappiness. So this is one thing which I think you should bring into your personal life in order to ensure that you get more happiness. This is especially true in India. In India, somehow parents are interested even in deciding the color of the shirt that their adult son is going to buy. And we call that, our family values are really strong, and there is no doubt that we are far better in this respect than the Western nations. But there's a lot of interference of grown-ups and parents into their sons' lives, even in minor matters. When will the younger generation of our country decide to live according to their own beliefs? Because if you don't decide to live according to your own belief, you are going to be an unhappy person because you are living the life of someone else. And this is a cause of unhappiness. You might not want to admit it. But when the time will come when the parents are no longer there to guide you, you will suddenly realize that you have become so programmed with their thinking that you do not have any independent thinking of yourself. And this leads to a lot of unhappiness. Friends, don't live life according to someone else's beliefs. I can understand until the time you become financially independent, fine. We do listen to our parents and teachers. And I'm not saying don't listen to them. I'm saying have your own decision on what they have taught you. So my favorite sentence is this, that intellectual independence must follow financial independence. And that will give you a lot of happiness in life. Let's go to number 5. One of the major things that leads to unhappiness is uncertainty. Imagine you ring up the railway inquiry or whatever, and he tells you your train is indefinitely late. And that's the end of your happiness. You don't know now what to do. You have planned everything, you finished all your jobs, and that guy, if he had told you that your train is 2 hours late, I would say, okay, you could fine-tune your scheduling. But if he says indefinitely late, then uncertainty gives unhappiness in whichever situation. See, we are all afraid of death. Why? Because death is so uncertain. And we are always afraid of it, and death never causes happiness. I'm sure we are all on the same wavelength on that at least. So it's clear that uncertainty increases unhappiness. So the best way to increase happiness would be to reduce uncertainty. You cannot eliminate it completely, but you can reduce it. How? There's no point in living in the past. There's no point in concentrating on the future. Live in the present. Because though there are a lot of uncertainties in the present, they are still the least as compared to these 3 sections of your life. I would suggest maybe go into the past only to learn from the mistakes that you have committed in the past. Go into the future to understand what you will do now to secure your future. If you want a percentage distribution, which I cannot really back up with evidence, I would say spend 10% of your time in the past, maybe 20% of your time in the future, and 70% of your time in the present. What am I doing now? And you will suddenly find that the uncertainty in your life contracts. I'm not saying it gets eliminated. And you will automatically be able to increase your happiness. Let's go to point number 6. It's obvious, if you do more of the things that give you happiness, your happiness content is going to go up. How many hobbies on an average do you have? I have, for example, maybe 3 or 4 hobbies. Hobbies always give you a lot of happiness. They don't give you pleasure. All these hobbies that I have listed there, gardening, singing, whether anyone wants to listen to me or not is a different question. But I am very happy singing to myself. It's the happiness that counts. Meditation, learning musical instruments, exercising, swimming, brisk walking, attending TED lectures. Anything could give you happiness. Increase the sources that give you happiness, and you will suddenly find that the happiness content in your life is going up. Let's go to point number 7. This is easier said than done. Every religion, especially Hinduism, insists that the best way to increase happiness is to reduce your wants, to reduce your desires. All of us claim to be very religious people and conveniently ignore the most important philosophy of our own religion. When are we going to get out of this vicious spiral of infinite wants? Today I have a Maruti, tomorrow I want an Accent, then I want a Mercedes, then I want a helicopter, and then I die. So what happens when you die? You are still an dissatisfied soul. How can you ever be happy if there is such an atripta ichha still in your mind? कि मैं तो यार Mercedes खरीद ही नहीं सका. The real answer to this is, don't go into this bigger, better, more expensive syndrome. Limit your desires. Be happy with lesser things. I have already told you that in this materialistic world, when you move up the value chain, moving up the value chain was the same as Maruti, Accent, Mercedes and things like that. The incremental value is much less than the incremental cost that you pay. So don't realize it by making the mistake yourself. Listen to what other people have told us, that reduce your desires and automatically your happiness would increase. Not for nothing, those saints who were meditating in Himalayas turned out to be happier than the guys, who were managing directors of a 5,000 crore company. Point number 8. There are many people who will wrong you in your life. In fact, there are more people who wrong you than people who benefit you. And what is our normal reaction? And which is perfectly natural. I am not saying that a normal person will not have such a reaction. You burn from inside to take revenge. This guy showed me in a humiliating light and I am going to take revenge on him. Just let me wait for an opportunity. Jealousy and anger, as I have written up there, are agents of death. But this is again easier said than done. If you forgive and forget, I am sure you are not going to be a winner. But you will be happier. Now you've got to choose. Do you want to win at the cost of your happiness? By all means, go ahead. In fact, I don't have to tell you to go ahead, you are already going ahead. Let's go to our 9th strategy. Don't you realize that children are happier than us? Why is that so? One thing is because of their curiosity. Second thing is they are very happy because their parents have gone to listen to the TED lecture today. They have no worry in this world. But the main thing that makes children happier is their tremendous amount of curiosity. I don't know what happens when we become adults. Somewhere down the way, we lose our innocence and curiosity and become grumpier and grumpier. And when you become a senior citizen like I have become, you are at your grumpiest. I mean, you can ask my wife. You must find out a way to keep your curiosity alive. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Let me see what your curiosity quotient is. And I'm not talking of your IQ or EQ or spiritual quotient or anything. Let me see what your curiosity quotient is. Tell me, in India, the minimum age for boys to get married is 21. And the minimum age for girls to get married is 18. While the minimum age for both to vote is 18. Why is this so? Why is this so? I am not expecting an answer, but those of you who have an answer, I think your curiosity is alive. Because getting the answer to this question...
They ensure that the guy should be happier for another 4 or 5 years.
But why are you making the girl unhappier right from the beginning? Okay, I'll ask you another question just in case. Tell me, when we get an electric shock, accidentally sometimes you touch that live wire or you put your finger into the socket or whatever and you get an electric shock. Why does our hand remain stuck there? There's no glue on our hands, no Fevicol or anything, and we are not able to take back our hand. Why does our hand get stuck when we are getting an electric shock? Okay, I'm not going to answer. As I said, you can discuss these answers later with me or you can email to me and I'll send you those answers. But if you don't know the answers to these questions, you have allowed your curiosity to die. Because getting the answers to these questions would not get you good jobs, would not give you any benefit that I can talk to you about. But it will definitely say that as curiosity as an attitude has been abandoned by you. And therefore you will be unhappier than if you redevelop your curiosity. Finding answers to questions is one of the most, it's one of the most productive tasks you can do, and you all have Google with you. I mean, Google has such a powerful search algorithm that if you post saying that what is the name of my future wife, it will give you an answer. I mean, I wouldn't recommend to those who are married to put that question. Hypocrites can never be happy. Double standards lead to unhappiness. I mean, we'll worship goddesses and then we'll kill girls in the fetus. We'll worship goddesses and we'll trouble our daughters-in-law for dowry. These are absolute double standards, prevalent in our country, predominantly. Double standards, people with double standards rarely are happy. I don't think this needs telling at all. Younger people are optimistic, enthusiastic, and positive in nature. And I think those of us who've crossed the youth need not worry कि भी अब मैं क्या करूं. Try and increase the time that you spend with the young. And that's what I do. I do a lot of training with college students. I mean, it's not going to make me 35 or 40 again, but surely my mind is 25 or 30, when as energetic as it was when it was 25 and 30. So spend more time with the young. Look out for opportunities where you will be able to do that. And we come to the last strategy that I am going to share with you. Giving somehow increases your happiness tremendously. I don't know how many of you have experienced it. Some of you might say that I don't have sufficient for myself. Why should I give right now? Doesn't matter. You don't have to give money. You can give all these things, look. You can give a smile, you can give advice, you can give cheers, you can give money, you can give help, you can give fellowship, you can even clap. And this will not immediately make you happy, but it's one of the... I know you are clapping because I am near the end of my presentation. This is a very peculiar arithmetical equation. If you have 100 units of happiness, and if you share 20 out of them with someone else, any mathematician will tell you that you should have 80 left with you. But this is a very, very peculiar equation which needs to be experienced by you in order to believe what I am trying to tell you. That the more happiness you share with people, the more happiness you get in return. So those of you who have not tried this till now because it sounds bizarre, I would suggest please try it. That's all, my friend. These were the 12 strategies that I wanted to share with you. They are all simple, but they need to be implemented. And the time to implement is when you step out of this hall, not Diwali or Lakshmi Pujan or Christmas or whatever. We have this habit of postponing what we want to implement just to satisfy ourselves. Khud ko bewkoof banana is what we call that. Try and implement this as you step out of this hall. You may not be able to implement all 12, but I am sure you will be able to implement most of them. And I have lived up to my promise that none of them will cost you even a rupee. Or maybe listening to them have costed you the TED ticket, but it's all right, it's worthwhile. I mean, this much amount if you spend to get these 12 strategies, I guess it's a fair deal. Fine, thank you, and my wish is be happy.